More guidelines videos. As I'm looking at the next few guidelines videos we need to do to wrap up this series, I'm noticing that there is a little bit of reinforcement. If you were being less than generous, you might even say repetition or redundancy, and I'm completely okay with that. We've gone over these earlier posts and I threw in a lot of that other stuff. So you're going to go, I think she's already talked about this one. But you know what? I checked with staff. If I'm giving you a new guideline video, that's because I haven't spoken about it specifically before, even though you probably have heard me talk about it on the side door or allude to some going down. So yes, please listen to this one. And this one I think is really important. It's one of the reasons I launched, for lack of a better word. Doesn't that sound grandiose? I launched Lace on Race almost 3 years ago. It's about safety. It's about creating a safe-ish space for us here. I want to read the guideline and then we're going to go through it. And again, you've probably heard it again. I've spoken about it a lot. I've written about it a lot. I am sure that I sort of sprinkled it in with the other guidelines videos, but it's worth revisiting again. So let's look at it. We call this space a safe-ish space for a reason. We deal daily with topics that are activating and challenging. It is your responsibility to be able to hold onto yourself, to hold your own hand so that you can co-create this safest space with me, my staff, and your fellow walkers. Our topics are not always safe or easy. As we have seen these last few weeks, it is imperative that each of us is as safe for us, each other as possible. I'm going to say that sentence again because I mangled it. It's imperative that each of us is as safe for each other as possible. For that very reason, as Padrago Tuama would say, to be a place where our feet can stand. This means being here, being seen, being available, being reliable. This means holding fictive imagination for each other. That means reminding yourselves just who it is you're talking to. This means remembering Hesed. Every single one of these sentences in this paragraph is important. And even though you've heard it before, I've heard it before, I want to break it down because this is the crux of it, y'all. This is how we keep this space safe-ish. How we are able to have 10,000 people, even if you only count the 200 to 400 active walkers who actually type in something and comment and responses in any given day, okay? Even if we're only thinking about them, that is a huge room of disparate people with different personalities, different baggages, different slosh buckets, all of these things that they are bringing in. And then with all of these variables, 10,000 variables, we bring in incendiary and provocative topics. I'm sure it doesn't take very much to think about how that can be a recipe for, am I right or am I right? That is why, it's not the only reason why, but that's why we talk about safe-ish. Going back to one of the first videos I did, like 6 months ago, do you remember when we did mask on? That we hold masks, that we have masks, not to protect ourselves, but to protect the person in front of me. That we talk about slosh, but we can also talk about spew. And when we were just starting in the first few months of COVID in let's just say, when was it? May or June, when we thought we had COVID down, but we turned out we really didn't. But we were actually talking about how we were learning how that virus spread and how it was worse in certain situations. So you've got the spew that when you're 6 feet away from each other and the odds are low, you've got masks on, even lower. When we're talking about mask on in the context of keeping this a safer space for Lace on Race, we are talking about I am going to make sure that I am as safe as possible for you. That's why my mask is here. It's not to hide. It's not to obfuscate. It's to make sure that I am not making a potentially volatile situation still worse. How do we do that in the context of Lace on Race? Well, if we were outside at Albertsons, I just make sure that I have my mask on and I'm sitting 6 feet away from you and I don't have to worry about that. You, in turn, hopefully are also wearing the mask to protect me and you're not coming right up on me. We're keeping each other safe so that we can live to be in the frozen food section another day. Here, what it means is exactly what we were talking about. I'm looking at this again and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Reminding yourself just who it is you were talking to, people who you have chosen, people with whom you have chosen to be in relationship with. For those of you who have been in Lace on Race for any amount of time longer than 15 minutes, you guys know my deep and nefarious plan. It's not just about race. It's about relationships. It's about learning how to do relationships well. It's learning how to hold each other well. It's learning how to hold ourselves well. It's learning how to make it so that someone says, that person looks like a pretty darn strong back. I bet I can stand where my feet are sore on this person. We learn relentless reliability. We learn Hesed. Not Hallmarky love like you're going to be seeing. If you went to the Hallmark channel, literally today, you could find about 18 different Christmas movies where a beautiful girl who happens to be in a small town, but she's from the big city and she's unlucky in love. And then she has this inherited house. We won't talk about the racism in terms of inherited wealth. Shh. She has this house, but it's falling down around her, and this handsome carpenter comes, but he's brusque. And the way that he shows his love is that he double walled her windows. And the next thing you know, it's Christmas and he kisses her under the mistletoe and it's all beautiful. That's not Hesed. Hesed is, guess what? Here you go. Here's I'm going to do your window for you this time. But the next time, I'm going to show you how to do the window. I'll be right here. You're going to mess up a lot. You're going to mess up that window. Don't worry about it. There's other windows. And then we're going to get it done. You got this. I got you. People are not used to that kind of Hesed. And when they see it here, they think that that actually is unsafe. I don't feel safe here. People aren't very nice. You're right. They're not. We're not. I'm not a nice person. And in case anybody has wondered about this, is Lace a nice person? If you had like one of those magic 8 balls, you'd shake it. All signs point to no. But I am kind. And I do my best to tell the truth. And that's where safety comes in. Niceness is malleable, it's transient, it's also very, very subjective. Niceness can also be a glove that hides a fist. Co-creating a safe-ish space means so much. It means letting your yes be yes, letting your no be no, letting yourself be seen. And we're going to talk about that when we move over to the Lace on Race website, the Lace on Race Cafe, when we launch in less than a month. I'm excited. But one of the things that we're talking about there is not using avatars, having people use their real names, or at the very least, if they must use an avatar, that we know their real name. One of the enemies of safety, one of the things that I've seen over and over in Facebook groups and in websites, particularly those that I kind of go, ooh, I don't feel safe here, is that everyone is allowed to kind of just use this, all the losing strategies, unbridled self-expression, all of that, and no one knows who they are. We are asking that in order to make this space as safe as possible, that you take the risk and have the courage of allowing yourself to be known and seen. I understand where people feel that for professional reasons or for whatever reasons that they can't show their entire face or show their real names. That is something you may have to work out. as someone who has used her entire face, her entire name during the entire 35 years that I have done racial justice and social justice work, yes, sometimes at my detriment, but people now know that when someone sees Lace Watkins or Lace on Race, they know who they're dealing with. And so that's a conversation that needs to happen later. But in the meantime, I want you to think about how you show up to this space to make it as safe as possible. This does not mean self-censorship. You can say anything you want, but you just can't say it any old way. You need to remember that the people here are people that you have chosen to walk in this opt-in, opt-out space. And if you have opted in, another thing that's very hard to say, if you have opted in, you are opting into a certain ethos as well. It means showing up again and again. Because one of the things that I've also noticed is the lack of reliability and churn. Lack of reliability and churn is also the enemy of a safe-ish space. I know that I feel safer in this space when I see names over and over and over and over again. Not just the usual suspects, but up and coming usual suspects. I rejoice when I see a new face, but I hope that they stick around. There were, at least during this really fraught last weekend when we were talking about appropriation, people that were saying, I've never really felt safe in this community. And we will do everything that we can to make this space as safe-ish as possible, to make this space as amenable as possible for you. You also have to do your part. If you're only showing up intermittently, if you're only liking and hearting, if you're only lurking, you're right. You are not going to get the benefits of community in this space. That's on you. You should try us and decide whether or not we're not worth your time or not, okay? You should see whether or not we can hold you well. But if you have not tested us, you cannot disparage us. I love you so much. And so I want to keep on giving you more and more topics, harder and harder topics, while I am right here on the coronavirus couch, keeping it safe-ish for a reason. Looking forward to continuing this walk with you along lumpy crossings as safely as possible. You are very deeply loved. And now I have to figure out how to turn this sucker off.